Welcome to Between Two Chairs, Demystifying Commercial Real Estate, the podcast that brings you the latest insights and trends on the South Florida commercial real estate market, with your hosts, Fernando Arencibia Jr. and Jennifer Woolman. In each episode, we dive into the world of commercial real estate and break down complex concepts to make them accessible for everyone. Whether you're a real estate professional, a curious investor, or just interested in the South Florida market in general, Between Two Chairs is the podcast for you. So pull up a chair and join us.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Between Two Chairs. My name is Fernando Arencibia Jr., and with me, as always, is the very social Jennifer Woolman. Jennifer, say hi.
Hi, everybody.
So, Jennifer, you know, this is always our favorite episodes, is when we get to introduce someone to our community, but also have, lively discussion about all the things that they're doing to expand their brand, to expand their selves, and to contribute to this amazing ecosystem that is real estate and commercial real estate. So would you do the honors and introduce our very special guest?
Sure. I'm super excited because today we have a long-time friend of mine. We've worked together for a really long time. I don't even know how many years. I don't want to count because it'll age me. But Lindley Cherobia is a realtor with the Lindley Residential Group, a division or a team, right? You're a team within real estate. And the reason I thought she would be perfect for this is because our topic, as you know, this month is building community and relationships. And honestly, Lindley is amazing at creating community. So she, from the time that we worked at a previous brokerage together, she was always willing to share her ideas, what was working, what wasn't working. And even though we both left, she's still creating networking opportunities with realtors in the area. And we get together. She has a coffee. She put together coffee and convos for conversations, just because I butchered that. But it's coffee and convos. She's just nothing short of amazing. And she also does amazing things on social media, all about the community. She's doing a lot on South Miami, et cetera. So welcome, Lindley. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you both so much for having me. It's very fun to be here.
Good. Before we get started, can you just tell us a little bit about your background, what you were like growing up, where you grew up, are you native, etc.? What got you into real estate? And then we'll go from there.
You bet. So I actually grew up in Miami. I am a rare breed of Miami because my grandparents both grew up in Miami. My great-grandfather was the first dentist in Key West, and then he raised his family in Miami. My grandfather went to Miami High. My mom went to Palmetto. So I go way back. And I will tell you, my mom is one of a few children, but she has tons of cousins. Everybody in her nuclear family, everybody has left Miami. I'm the only one left. So I'm here like preserving the Campbell name in Miami-Dade County. So I was born and raised in Pinecrest. Actually, I was born in Coral Gables and then I was raised in Pinecrest. I left for college and thought I would never come back. So it's a little bit ironic that I'm the only member of the family left here. My husband brought me back here after college. And we live in unincorporated Dade County, but we're like on the edge of the Gables in South Miami. So I live very close to the University of Miami. And when I moved to Miami, I worked in advertising for many years, which I think built me a perfect foundation for what was to come in real estate, not realizing at the time that that's what was happening. But I come with a background in marketing and advertising. And then I was hired to be one of the top agents in Miami's assistant. And I worked with her for 7 years. And I say everything I know about this business, I learned from her. And about 11 years ago, I left and went on my own, with the same company. I've been doing this for almost 19 years, the last 2 of which have been at Real Broker. And it's just awesome. I love what I do. I think it should be illegal to have as much fun and enjoy my job as much as I do, because nobody loves their job this much. Don't get me wrong. there are times where I don't want to do it another day. But for the most part, I think this is the best job on the planet. We get to help people with one of the biggest, transactions in their lives and get to know them and make money doing it. It's like problem solving. It's so fun.
Agreed. I remember I was on a panel once and they asked, if you weren't doing real estate, what else would you be doing? And I said, well, I don't know, because within real estate, I get to be everything. I can be an architect, I can be an advertiser, I can be a marketing specialist, I can be an attorney or pretend to be an attorney, right? Like I can do all of these things within therapist. Yeah, that's a big one. So I agree. And please don't bartender for sure. So please do not make it illegal to have this much fun, because you're right. So how did you actually transition into real estate from marketing? We always say that most people come into real estate from something else. So obviously it sounds like a great fit. I mean, no brainer, marketing, advertising, and real estate. But what made you transition into that? How difficult of a transition was it?
Sure. I mean, it really it fell out of the sky and into my lap. I did not seek it out. I was actually working in real estate advertising and marketing. So I was working at McGuire Company. We were the ad agency that helped Ugo Colombo with the Grosvenor House many of Ugo Colombo's projects on Brickell. I was working on the accounts like the Ritz-Carlton clubs, which is the fractional division of the Ritz. Sea Island was one of my clients. So I was working on real estate advertising, like high-end resorts and, residential. And then that was in 2007. So the world was sort of falling apart. The real estate world was sort of falling apart. Big businesses, big companies like those were having to cut costs because things weren't selling. Marketing budgets were getting slashed. And our company went from being a very big company to a fairly small company. And I was on maternity leave and got a call that my friend needed an assistant. And so I just became a real estate agent to go work with her. And I mean, I'll tell you, it was Ashley Cusack. She's one of the best in Miami.
Amazing.
Yeah, she's awesome.
So I worked with Ashley for 7 years, and we did everything together. Short of negotiating, which I didn't do a lot of when I was on her team, I did everything. I did all the marketing, I did everything. And I learned so much from her. I tell anybody that's coming into this business that I get calls all the time. I just got my license. What do I do next? And I say, the best thing you can do is go be somebody's assistant. Join a team, go find somebody that needs help, because you're going to learn so much more working with somebody who has a lot of volume than trying to figure it out on your own. I didn't aspire at that time to be in my own, to be an agent. I was just there to support. But obviously things changed. I started having a family, wanted a little bit more flexibility, which is ironic because we all know how demanding this job is.
Yes.
Had a summer where one of my very dear friends wanted to buy and sell 5 properties. And I knew I couldn't possibly serve them the right way while also working full time with Ashley. So I tell them all the time, they were my, how do I say this? If it wasn't for them, I don't know that I'd be where I am today.
Oh, that's amazing. And then, so you end up going off on your own, and I'm trying to remember, because I know we were neighbors. We shared an office, and now we're neighbors again at Borough and South Miami. What goes around comes around in this business. But I remember you were one of the first in our office to really embrace social media, and you used to do, I think you called it car talks or something, or maybe I nicknamed it that because it was you sitting in your car talking. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started in social, why you got started in social, and how you've grown? Because your account is amazing.
So yes, they were called Car Confessions.
Oh, that's right, Car Confessions.
And I had this idea to just tell the stories. I mean, ask any realtor, what crazy thing happened in your deals last week? And they're all going to have a story. So I had for 6 months, I'd been dreaming up this idea, but I was too shy. I don't know. I didn't have the courage to do it. So one day I was on Old Cutler driving to the Palmetto Bay City Hall to close a roof permit for my handicapped client. We were supposed to be closing the next week. They discovered this open permit, from a post-Hurricane Andrew roof. She had since replaced the roof, but they didn't ever close out this permit. She couldn't get to City Hall, and so I said, I'll do it. So I was driving there to close this permit so we could close on the house. And I was like, this is the perfect example of these things that we do, these stories that I wanted to share. So I remember it, pulled over at the Cocoa Plum Circle, parked my car, put my phone in front of my face and told the story and told myself, you will not leave until you've posted it. So I posted the story on Instagram and kept driving. And I don't remember exactly what the feedback was, but I guess people enjoyed the story. So that week I did a few car confessions stories and it just took off. What I realized was nobody cares about our just listeds or just solds. Like that doesn't connect with people. What connects is storytelling. And now I love being a student to all of this. And I take classes all the time about how to improve and they teach it. I just had the idea. It wasn't like anybody was telling me this was the way to do it, but it works. You tell stories, you share. And what it did was remind people every day that I was a real estate agent, that I was in my car working, but I wasn't talking about just listings and just solds, which nobody cared about. I was connecting. And I had no intention of that. I didn't do this with the intent to either grow my Instagram or grow my business. I just did it because I thought it was going to be fun. And it put me on this trajectory of loving it. Now I have a paid videographer and we pump out a heck of a lot of content that people connect with. And it's been a lot of fun.
Well, and you've actually, you are a creator. I want to say you're an influencer, but I don't know if I'm using that word correctly because I know a lot. Yeah, well, because I know a lot of influencers get paid, and they do collaborations and stuff. I don't know. I don't think you get paid to do this. It's just
my bank account says, "Where's the money?"
There you go. But you're an influencer in the sense of I guess you're just a creative. You have a ton of followers. You create great content, but you also get invited to speak in places and to present how to do social media successfully, right? So tell us a little bit about what some of your, I guess, flops were and what some of your successes were with social media, or do you feel like there's ever really a flop?
So, there have been many flops, but I think I consider a flop a learning opportunity. So there's not one that I would point to and say, sure, if you go back in time, some of the things that I did and said are just so cringy, but that's normal. And you learn from it and you improve. What was your other question? The flops and the successes?
Correct.
To me, it's like what I think I have done is I'm a student to the process, and I've reinvented myself and I've evolved so much over time. So if we use Instagram, because that's where I spend most of my time, if you scroll down in my feed, it looks very different 2 years ago than it looks today. So I've just learned how to be better and I've changed what I talk about. Obviously, what I'm doing now is called hyperlocal content. So if the goal is to try to get business from social media, then I don't need followers in Indiana. I need followers in South Miami. So when I talk about what's happening right here in my neighborhood, it resonates with people in my neighborhood, as it should. So I have sort of shifted my focus in the last few years. I would say when I got pretty serious about it 2 or 3 years ago, maybe even 4 years ago, I was doing a lot of content where I was teaching people about the process or, trying to make real estate fun and how I spoke about real estate. Well, I don't know about you, but when I am tired and like getting in bed and winding down and I go to Instagram, I don't really want to be taught to. I'm just there to be entertained and I'm there for fun. So if you feed people things that they think are fun, then they like you. If you teach them about a backup contract, they don't care. Like, that's not what they care about. So I just learned over time, like, if you give them what they want, that's what connects with people. So sharing the hyperlocal stuff, like Einstein's Bagels just closed, or Board Cuban just opened on Sunset. That's what people care about. That's in their backyard. They just drove by and they wondered what that sign was, right? So now I've connected with you on a more personal level, that on something that we both agree on. You might not be thinking about what a backup contract is because you're not in the market to buy a house. But if I'm connecting with you on what's happening in the neighborhood, now we have something in common to talk about. So, as you and I know, as we learn about social media and connection, we need a low barrier of entry to connect with people. And that's what's worked. So my whole approach has been this sort of hyper local, what's happening right here in the neighborhoods that I serve. You're going to get to know me as a real estate agent, because I tell you in a lot of my videos that that's what I'm here for, but I'm sharing information that is really interesting to you. I mean, yeah, my Instagram followers have grown like crazy. Business has come from it because I'm super consistent. And if we want to talk about consistency, I've posted 2 videos a week for the past 5 years, at least.
And video, you were doing video before most people were doing social, period, and video is where it's at.
Video is where it's at. And we could have a whole nother discussion about the fear of putting the phone in front of your face. The only way to get over the fear is to put the phone in front of your face. Trust me, you get over it 5 years later. I don't even think about it anymore. I hired a videographer years ago, and people always think it's crazy because I do, spend money on video. But if it wasn't for her and it was up to me to hold myself accountable to post 2 times a week. I mean, there's weeks when I'm just too busy and it would not have happened. So I firmly believe in outsourcing the things that we're not good at, because she's the reason I've stayed this consistent. I pay her, I show up, we shoot video, and here we are.
And so let me ask you about that thought process, because you have to be organized, and I completely understand that it's the only way to get consistency. So where do you leave room for spontaneity in things that that you see all of a sudden, something, an idea that pops into your head, all those kind of things? I'm curious about, because I'll tell you, it feels very spontaneous. It's obviously well orchestrated, but it does feel very, very, very yourself. You're really conveying, this is who I am, and the videos do give you a feel of spontaneity.
Right. So, well, to give you a little peek behind the curtain, yesterday was video day. We met in South Miami, and we shot 13 videos yesterday. So we don't need to shoot videos again for another 6 weeks, because now I'll have 6 weeks of content. I will be wearing the same thing in the next 6 weeks of videos, which people say, do you change outfits? No one notices. And if they do, whatever. So what I do is I keep a note in my phone. So does she. And anything we see that we want to talk about, we put in the notes. We kind of have a little powwow, usually the night before a shoot, to talk through what we're going to shoot, where should we start? Because being on site, I think, is important. So we're kind of just making a map across across town and going from place to place to shoot video. Now, spontaneity, so I post every Monday and Wednesday a video. And then on Fridays, I do everything you missed this week in Miami. Which is a carousel post of like top really cool things that happen. And that's new. I've only started doing that a couple months ago, but people have enjoyed it. But if on Tuesday I come across something, or I see an article, or there's something I want to share, I'll just post on the fly or post in stories. Stories are never well thought. Stories are just whatever I'm, thinking about at the time. I could do better on stories. But there is an element of spontaneity, but I think people think I'm more spontaneous than I actually am.
So speak about something that I think a lot of people miss, just because you're writing down little notes as, ideas are coming to your mind. You have someone who's not only going to hold you accountable, but they're going to bring in their own ideas as well. And you want to be intentional about showcasing South Miami. How much has that made you a better broker and a better agent? In other words, the fact that you want to be intentional about what's happening in your town and you want to share it in social media, inevitably all that information, you're internalizing all that information as well, right? And so sometimes we always speak about everything you do in this business, you should leverage it for other things. You know, the thing is not the thing itself. That thing becomes two or three things, and you never know when you're going to utilize that piece of information, that contact, that relationship that you build, you know, things that come in. So I love your perspective on that.
So the one thing that comes to mind immediately when you say that is the relationships that have come from these videos are unmatched. People said to me when I started doing this, "You're crazy to be creating videos for businesses and they're not paying you for it. You're paying to advertise their business. You're crazy." And I understand the concept of that being crazy, but I know the mayor of Palmetto Bay personally. I know the council members of South Miami personally. I know so many people that I have met through doing this consistently over the years that I've either turned to because I've needed help, or you name it. The things that have come out of this creating videos are so unexpected. And I mean, obviously Jennifer knows, but I'm a firm believer that we give more than we receive. And as long as you're giving, you're always going to receive. I never worry about giving too much because it's only in the giving that we receive. So the relationships that have come from this fun that I've had over the past 5 years, I couldn't have created if I tried. And it's, again, like I when people say you're an influencer, I go, yeah, accidental. Like that's not what I ever set out to do. I didn't even necessarily, well, did I hope it turned into business? Sure. And has it? Yeah. But it's been so much more than that. Like it's just been, anything you do with this amount of consistency is going to come back.
Absolutely. And, you know, sometimes we live in a world where there are some people that, well, let's face it, some people have just kind of put fun out of their life. Like they don't intentionally schedule fun, you know, or leave room to be surprised. Right. And so when people ask about ROI, what is the return on your investment? There are things that are very difficult to quantify. But just imagine how much better you have gotten at speaking to people about your town. You know, how much better your pitch about yourself and your services has become. Being comfortable in front of the camera, you know, has to lead to being comfortable in front of other people when you're talking about your services, and then the relationships that you build, and the fact that Jennifer brought up something which I think is very important is there is an intentionality in building community. How do we define that? How do we tell people, well, there's an ROI to building community? Well, first of all, we all love to be part of a community, right? And so there's something about doing something where it's something that is bigger than yourself.
Right, for sure. So a couple things come to mind. Number one, I had this sort of light bulb moment a few months ago. My kids go to Palmer Trinity. I'm on the board of Palmer Trinity. They went to St. Thomas before that, and I was on the board there. I serve on the board of a camp / educational program organization in Maine. I belong to a gym in Miami that I love and I'm very involved in. And what I realized is all these things that matter to me and that I'm involved in, all of them at the heart value community. And I had this light bulb moment, like, oh my gosh, one of my core values is community. Real Broker, their whole motto is work hard, be kind. They tout themselves as being one of the most collaborative real estate agencies around. They are, and it's all about community. So I realized, like, shoot, I think I should just have community tattooed across my body, because everything that I'm attracted to has community at the heart of who they are. So Palmer Trinity, when you ask anybody at that school, what are we known for? The community. Peak 360, where I work out, what are we known for? Our community. So it's just been a theme in my life, and I love it, and I love people, and I love all of it. I'm a bit of an introvert, but I am.
You'd never know it, right? You see her and you talk to her and you'd never know that she was introverted.
Yeah,
but that's why I thought you'd be perfect for this. The episode that we did right before this talked about every single one of us, whether we're introverted or extroverted, are members of multiple communities, right? We have the physical communities that we live in, the state, the county, the city, et cetera. But then we have all of these other communities. You talked about your workout community. We have our real estate community, et cetera. So I think what you're doing, tying all of those together, is brilliant in your social media. And I love that you brought that up, because we literally just talked about that for this month. And that's why the light bulb went off a little bit late for me. But to get you on the show, because I'm like, oh my God, she's perfect, because that's what she does. We had a conversation recently, you and I and a group of people in a community that you created to learn about social media. And you said, especially in Miami, you get the feeling that real estate isn't that collaborative. Now, in commercial, I think because we're so much smaller, there are less of us doing it. It's way more niche based. I think there might be a little bit more collaboration because we rely on each other. But tell me a little bit about that, about your mission to change that. Tell me a little bit about that, because I love the fact that you have that goal.
So, okay, let's rewind a little bit. I left a company that I was with for 17 years to join Real Broker. What our past company had was a great sense of community. And what Real Broker has is an incredible sense of community as well. But Real isn't big in Miami yet. So in the brokerage that I'm in right now, I don't have a huge community of agents with Real. There are agents in Miami. We're all scattered. So, I have my space here at Bureau, but there's no brick and mortar because Real is a cloud-based company. So last year, again, it took me a while to have the courage to decide to do it, which is probably a theme for everybody when we try something new. I thought, wouldn't it be great if I could recreate community with the agents in Miami that I kind of miss, having that sense of community. So I had this idea to have what I called Coffee and Convos, which is a once a month realtor mastermind that we've been hosting till now in South Miami, to just bring agents together. And my idea was it's a collaborative space for realtors to come together and share ideas. And I didn't know how it would be received, because my experience has been with realtors in Miami, nobody wants to share what's working, what they're doing, because they feel like if they share, then you're going to take the business or something, which, as you said once, Jennifer, you can share everything you know, and most likely people aren't going to do it. So it doesn't matter, share away. So I started this group. I think the first month we had 11 people show up, which I thought was a huge success. And we've met every month since. And it's become the coolest community. And again, I didn't know what I even wanted when I started, but this has been a total, it's like exactly what I felt like I needed times 10. So now we have a WhatsApp group. Even if you can't make it to the meeting, we still have a place where people can communicate and either share ideas or ask questions, or, I need somebody to take the wallpaper off of my rental unit. It's been a great place for sharing. And I that to me is what it's all about, just getting agents together. So that what I love is every month we have a different group of agents showing up. Not everybody knows each other. For the most part, I know everybody, but people don't know each other. So I think it's been a great way for agents, agnostic brokerages, right? So it's like every brokerage is welcome to come. And people have met each other from across brokerages, which is awesome. But really what's been great is having everybody share. if you don't want to share, you shouldn't come. So we've had meetings about lead generation. We've had meetings about AI. We've had meetings about how to talk about compensation. I mean, we've had meetings about inspections, and like we just spent a whole hour talking about inspections, which was odd, but that's what ended up happening.
Well, and that was a super interesting one, because something that, I mean, both you and I have worked in this community in real estate, and Fernando too, for such a long time. And it was the radon one. And we were all shocked by how all of a sudden radon in so many of the properties was becoming like a deal killer, even though it's been inspected for before and everything else. But now the intricacies of the equipment that we're having, anyway. But yeah, to your point, every meeting's different. Every meeting's a different group of people. But I love that you were able to bring together people who were willing to share, because I agree with you. We've all been in groups or at meetings or gone to seminars where there's certain people who are willing to participate and share, and there are other people who are just taking notes, absorbing, but they never open their mouth. They don't want to share what they do, what's worked, what hasn't worked, whether they thought it was a good idea. They don't give any feedback. And so the fact that you were able to attract, it shows that people follow and work with people that they connect to, that like-minded people have connected with you.
Yeah, I think it's been awesome. I mean, and I still think it's hard to share all the things that we're doing to get business. But like I said earlier, I believe there is, I wish I knew off the top of my head, who knows how many people live in Miami? 3 million? I don't know. So 3 million people live in Miami. And last year I did 40 transactions. That's it? Aren't there more than 40 people that want to work with me? Well, the truth is there's enough to fill everybody's plate. I don't even need 1 million transactions. I don't want a million. I don't even want 1,000. So there's enough to go around. But I think realtors, there are some agents who have a scarcity mindset, and I just don't. I think there's enough to go around, and I do believe that we can lift each other up. There's room for everybody to improve, and if that's what we can do for each other, heck yeah. Like, let's all be better for our clients. And I think that this kind of community building helps support that and makes it easier when we're across the table from each other on a transaction. Because inevitably, as many of my clients have said, my relationship with you is important, but I know when I leave, you're done with me, but you're going to have to deal with that agent again someday. So it's important that you keep those relationships intact.
You've shared so many great nuggets, but I'm wondering something that you mentioned earlier, what triggered the mindset shift? You were doing a lot of videos where you were educating, and then those, that shifted to where now you began to do videos where you're entertaining. And so, how did that come about? Because I do feel that most people believe I have to get into social media and I have to educate the public, right? In order to showcase that I know what I'm talking about, to convey that. And so, talk about when did you come to that realization?
Okay. Well, don't get me wrong, Fernando, but my educational content was very entertaining. When we used to brainstorm for our videos back before I got into this hyperlocal stuff, everything had a prop. So if you scroll back in my Instagram, I very regularly made a complete fool of myself.
Yes.
So in the process of educating, I also entertained. I called it edutainment, right? I used to say, if it isn't entertaining, educational, or engaging, I'm not doing it. But as you do it more, as I learn more, as I was a student of the process, what I learned was likes and comments are great, but shares and saves are better. So if somebody shares my content, then more eyeballs get to see it. And that's better for me than somebody liking it and then it dies there. So nobody wanted to share my video about backup contracts because it's not that shareable. It was entertaining. Maybe if I made a fool of myself, they were going to share it. But when I'm telling you about, you know what, let's just use the Redbird Shopping Center, which I'll give you a pointer about the Redbird Shopping Center after the story.
I have a pointer on my own about that, so I'm so glad you're bringing it up.
So the Redbird Shopping Center was so shareable because nobody could believe it had sold. Nobody knew, even though it had been in the news 6 months before my video came out. So that got shared more than 10,000 times. That was far more shareable for a viewer than here's how backup contracts work. So what's crazy about that video is this. We were shooting content that day, probably 10 to 15 videos, because that's how we tend to do it. We pull into the Redbird Shopping Center and Cynthia, my videographer Cynthia, goes, "What are we shooting here?" I said, "Well, I don't even really know why I brought you here. I don't even have a story. All I know is it sold. That's all I got." And she was like, "Oh, well, just say what you know." And I was like, "But that's it." She's like, "Maybe we should skip it." And she was like, let's just shoot it. So I said what I said. I'm at the Redbird Shopping Center. It sold in July for $62 million to a company out of Charlotte. We have no idea what's going to happen here, but it sold. And then that's the best video. As far as likes and shares, I've never had a video go viral like that. I mean, the New Times wrote an article about my video. That's how crazy the video went. Never underestimate an idea because I did one last week about Aleta Moss Park and Pinecrest. And I'm like, this is the most boring video. And it's been seen, I don't know, 20,000 times or something. So you never know.
You know, what I thought was very impactful about that video is to your point, is the simplicity of what you're sharing. You're showcasing the shopping center for sure. And you're mentioning some of the stalwart restaurants and places that have been there for a long time. But a lot of people would have gotten stuck in, I need to do more research. I need to know who bought it. I need to, and that's where I think people they don't allow for progress, because they're looking for perfection. And of course, this story broke 6 months ago in a very unshareable way, right? It's an article, it's somewhere, but you made it very shareable by being in the location and being able to showcase, and also, credit to the editor, the way that it was edited together. It's a fun video and you're conveying a lot of information very quickly. And so I don't know, earlier in the process when you started to do, did you get bogged down in research, get bogged down into more of what you were going to do, or, you were always off the cuff?
I'm very off the cuff. I do try to make sure my details are right. Because I'll, say 26 when I mean 62. I mean, I try to be spot on. But I will tell you, I think the one thing that I do well, and maybe Jennifer can attest to it, done is better than perfect. My own videographer, I started a YouTube channel, which I really haven't talked about publicly, but I've started creating content targeting people that are relocating to Coral Gables in South Miami. So my videos are very specific for that person. And I'm shooting them in my guest bedroom, usually at 11 p.m. at night, with a Ring camera in my iPhone. And do you want to know how long it took me to finally shoot my first long form video? 2 years. Because I overthought, what camera do I need? Where should I shoot it? What am I going to say? What should the background be? And one night I was like, that's it. Enough is enough. And today my videographer was like, I don't really like the cover on your couch and you need to wear lipstick. And I was like, oh, whoa. Done is better than perfect. Remember? So sometimes you just have to do it because we will think ourselves out of anything if we let ourselves, versus just shoot it and throw it against the wall and see what sticks. So I've gotten very good at just post it and see what happens.
So you've seen other people, obviously, we're both users of the technology and we're all consumers of the technology. And I think this might be a different way of asking the question you asked earlier, but what do you think is the biggest mistake people do, or what has inspired you to do new things in social media, maybe?
I mean, by far, the biggest mistake people make is not being consistent. Either starting and stopping or not starting because they're scared. But I firmly believe the reason that I don't call it successful, but I have a following, so I guess it's working. It's because I'm wildly consistent, and I'm consistent because I'm paying somebody to do it for me. To me, it's like you just have to stick with it. If you stick with it and never evolve, what's the point? Stick with it, see what works, go deeper on what works, and keep going. And then, but the minute you stop or it's not working, I mean, if I thought it's not working, I would have stopped years ago. But it doesn't happen overnight. I had somebody say to me recently, wow, what did he say? He was like, you are crushing it. You just came out of left field and look at you. Aren't you, like, you were an overnight success. I think that's what the word is. And
You're like,
really? Overnight? Because I've been working on it for 8 years. It's been anything but overnight. It's you put in the time, and you put in the time, and eventually you'll see a payout, but don't stop. You just have to keep going. And I will say that a lot of what I do makes me cringe while I'm doing it, makes me cringe when I see it, makes me uncomfortable, and I've learned to embrace the discomfort. I host a lot of client events. Every time I host one, I think an hour before, why am I doing this? I don't want to go to this baseball game, this party that I'm hosting, because it's uncomfortable. But at the end of the night, it's always, I'm so happy I did it. I just saw 60 of my clients and that was the best. So we shy away from things that are uncomfortable because they're uncomfortable, but that's where the growth lies. And people say it all the time. Until you do it, you don't really know, like, you just have to do it.
Yeah, see, I told you she was perfect. So you're hitting on so many themes that we talk about all the time. And one of the things that Fernando and I talk about is how important it is to be comfortable being uncomfortable, right? Like it's a challenge. It's that, to your point, the cringe factor, but it's also what will either stop your growth, whether it's business or personal or whatever, or what will propel you if you do it. But if you're comfortable, it's time for you to shake things up. So.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And it's hard.
It's very hard. It's very hard. And consistency is also hard. I remember when we started this podcast, we were doing all the recordings, and like you, I was changing my outfit every time. Now I don't change my outfit every time. But Fernando got to one point where we were both super busy with work. We were trying to start this new company, and Fernando's like, you know what, instead of doing it every week, maybe we need to scale back. And I said, no, we need to be consistent, because all of the other social media things that I had tried at the very, very beginning, when like Facebook first came out, or when I had a blog that I loved doing, but I never saw results, so I stopped doing it. Well, guess what? If I had continued doing that, imagine. So I'm like, let's just stick with it. Let's not look at algorithms. Let's just do it because we enjoy doing it, because we're talking to fun people, because we're answering questions or telling stories about weird stuff. So I think your point on being consistent is, once you get over being uncomfortable, I think the next hardest thing is the consistency factor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yes. And then before you know it, you're recording episode 174th.
Hey,
which is awesome.
4 years in.
Which is awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So Lindley, for anybody who's listening and maybe wants to join you in coffee and combos, how do they find you? How do they sign up? How does that work?
Sure. So the easiest way to find me, as realtors, we have our information everywhere.
Just don't tell Jennifer. She doesn't tell anybody. Okay, she keeps it. She hoards it. She hoards it to herself. And then she surprises me with it during a podcast. That's how it works.
I love it. So the easiest place to find me is Instagram, which is @LindleyResidential, and my name is LYNLEY. So my parents gave me a very hard name. They could have made it simpler. Coffee and Convos, I basically marketed it to my realtor list, my email list for realtors, which has grown. We have a WhatsApp group. So if you're interested in joining Coffee and Convos, I'd say go find me on Instagram and send me a DM, and I'll get you the link to the WhatsApp. But I post on Instagram before we have our meetings. So every realtor in Miami is invited to come. And the WhatsApp is growing, and it's been great. It's been great to watch it evolve. I don't know what it's going to become. I want like micro mastermind groups to come through Coffee and Convos, so smaller groups of people can hold each other accountable to goals. That's sort of what I think would be great. Like we had, Jennifer.
Yeah, love that.
I could see
Our
like a book
mastermind
club
group.
out of it. I don't know. We'll see.
And we will post all of Lindley's contact information, the Coffee and Combos information, everything in our show notes.
Wouldn't that be great if every realtor Miami just showed up out of nowhere?
Oh my God.
Just the chaos. That would be so much fun.
Fresh Market will be so happy.
That's
sure.
why we love this.
Yeah. I haven't been there since you guys started going there. But it looks like it's working out great.
Listen, they love us. They're giving us coupons to give any buyer client that we have to come get a gift basket after a closing. So we're giving those certificates out at the next Coffee and Combos to give out to our clients. And they create gift baskets, and they're giving us 20% off gift baskets that we can either curate ourselves or they will curate for us to use for closing gifts.
Yeah, they're amazing. And I'm so happy they're in South Miami. I just love that they're right across the street from us.
Me too. Me too.
So since we're wrapping it up, is there anything that you want to share that we didn't ask you about, or an experience that you beware of or don't be afraid of? Any last words? Or
I think the one thing that people say about me is like that I'm authentic. I think that word is so overused, but it's like, oh my gosh, I met you in real life and you're just like you were on camera. Well, I honestly don't know how else to be. So I think that I see people try to be someone else sometimes on social media, and it doesn't work. Like, you are who you are. I'm not for everyone, but if you watch me, you're going to know if I'm for you or not. So I mean, my last word of wisdom is like, just be yourself. Just like put out to the world what you like and who you are and what you do. And the right people are going to find you. And the people that don't resonate with me, don't come work with me. That's fine. There's somebody for everybody. So the more people can just be authentic, be themselves, do what they love, it makes for a happier life.
I love that. And also have fun, right?
Have fun.
If Instagram isn't for you, maybe LinkedIn is. If neither of those are for you, maybe TikTok or Facebook. Just find what you like to look at. Don't try to copy them, but where you're comfortable being. And that's something that Chelsea, spoke about in her class, was even if you're uncomfortable within that discomfort, be on the comfortable platform for you where you're going to find people that resonate. And I can't be Lindley, right? Like, so I'm not going to go out there, and she used to dress up and make these props. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you go girl. But like me in a million years, I can't do it. Like, I can't, that's beyond discomfort for me. So I wouldn't do that, but she did amazing. So I love that. Be authentic. Be uncomfortable. Be uncomfortable and be consistent.
And personally, I love that your grandfather and I have something in common. I also went to Miami High, go Stingarees. So, I love that.
That's awesome.
Well,
thank you both for having me. I really appreciate it. Of course.
No, thank you for being with us. And thank you, everybody, for listening to this amazing episode of Between Two Chairs. I hope you get a lot out of it. I'm sure you will. And on behalf of Lindley, Jennifer, and myself, bye.